Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Leslie and I am so excited for today's video because it is my favorite time of year. It is September, which means fall. So I know fall hasn't officially started yet. I think we still have another week or so. And Pixel is walking around here, so you may see her tail pop up. But if you like videos on frugality, saving money, and just general things like that, you are in the right place. So let's get started with a list of frugal fall activities that you can do. So this is more of just a bucket list. So I have categories and then just general things for each of those categories. Some of them are very simple, so I would definitely recommend combining some of these things and just celebrating all of the fall vibes. So forget buying those cheaply made expensive decorations and actually make some memories and do some of these activities. A lot of these are good for families, but if you are just on your own, that's totally fine too. These are a lot of really fun things you can do. I know even before I had a family, I did a lot of these myself. So let's take a look and see what's on here. I made a list of 40 things, but since I get kind of mixed up on numbering even on short lists, I'm not going to be numbering all of them as I go. So when I put the category across the screen, I will put how many activities are in that category just in parentheses. So you can kind of have a good idea and know that I'm not lying to you. I did include 40 things. So let's get started. And I have my list here, so I will probably be looking down at my notes because I can't remember all of them off the top of my head. So the very first thing that I'm going to start out with is at-home cozy vibes. So I'm starting with this one because it is my personal favorite. I will put timestamps if you want to jump around and pick your own category that you like the most. So the very first thing is to create a candlelit reading nook. So I absolutely love picking out fall books and having a cozy place to read. So the first one is going to be to do that. You can have some pillows, some blankets, just make it a really inviting area, have some candles lit. Don't get your books too close to your candles and burn your house down, but beyond that, just pick out a nice fall candle and enjoy yourself. The next one is going to be to make some DIY spiced drinks. So things like apple cider, you could even do a mulled wine or something like that. Some kind of spiced tea. So you can make a regular apple cider, spiced apple cider, a pumpkin spice latte, and just a spiced milk type of drink. So instead of putting coffee in it, just do pumpkin puree, milk, and some spices and just warm it up on the stove. Any of these are so nice and they would actually pair really well with the cozy reading nook. You could also do a fall movie marathon. So you have a few options here. So you could pick some cozy fall movies. So one of my favorites is You've Got Mail. That one just screams fall to me. The visuals, the story, I love that movie in the fall. Also something like Gilmore Girls. So not quite a movie, but you could do just a marathon of Gilmore Girls. Or you could go the completely opposite direction and go for horror for Halloween. So you could do horror movie night or watch The Twilight Zone or some kind of horror show. I know for me, I like both cozy and horror. I go back and forth between the two. So let me know if you're like me because it's so weird because they're such opposites, but maybe that's why I like both, just have some balance in there. So another one, if it's a little too cold outside, would be to do an indoor picnic. So you can set up a blanket, have a picnic basket, have some food, just do all of your normal picnic things, but inside. And this one would also be great for a movie night. So you can have a picnic and a movie just in your living room. Build a nice fort, whatever you want to do. Another cozy indoor thing would be a board game night or a puzzle night. You could have a Halloween or fall themed puzzle. I don't really know themed board games. There's got to be some like Halloween fall board games out there, but you could play something like Clue or just whatever board game you want to do. You could also create a fall playlist, so songs that remind you of fall, just some of those cozy vibes, or again, go the opposite and go more Halloween spooky time type of playlist. Things like the Nightmare Before Christmas soundtrack or any of those Halloween songs, stuff like that. The next one is to have a cozy fireplace night. So put one of those fireplace videos up on your TV and just make it a really cozy, warm environment. Maybe light some candles so you have candlelight going and it just really enhances that. This one is not exactly fall specific, but in honor of Thanksgiving, you could have a gratitude jar or some kind of gratitude journal that you update throughout the month. And the final one for this category is to bake fall treats. So I don't do too much baking anymore because I tend to not eat stuff like that. I tend to eat very healthy, but I love making seasonal fall meals. So things like pumpkin and cranberries and like kale, I don't know, sweet potato, just all of these fall kind of foods and stuff like soup. Oh my god, I get so into soup when the weather starts getting cold. So I love making soups in the slow cooker, just any kind of seasonal meals or baking. I will admit I do tend to make some kind of pumpkin treat, so like a pumpkin spice cupcakes or pumpkin pie for sure. That is one I will admit I always do a pumpkin pie. So any of these kind of seasonal fall treats, but instead of buying it directly from the store, go ahead and just make it yourself. That's a really good one for families too, because you can get your kids involved. And actually, I lied, I do have one more for this category that kind of goes with the first one, and that is to pick out some fall books. But I wanted to add this separate because I want to give you some ideas on how to do this more frugally. So use the library. That is a great resource for finding books. I read a ton of books in the fall. I think most of my yearly books that I read tend to happen in the fall. So I get a lot of books from the library just to make them free, because I would be spending so much on books if I had to buy all of them. Another resource is those little free library boxes. You can find those throughout where you live. If you go to the website, I'll link it below, and you can look up if there's one in your area. Maybe you'll get lucky and have several like I do. I love those things. And a lot of times I do find some seasonal books in there to add to my collection. Also, if you do want to buy a book, use something like eBay. I have definitely bought some used books on eBay. There's some shops on eBay that will do like a buy 3, get 1 free type of deal. So I've gotten so many great deals on books. I mean, you can get like 4 books for maybe $12, including shipping. So they really have some amazing deals on there if there's a book you just have to have, especially if it's an older book. So the next category is going to be the complete opposite of the indoor category, and that is going to be outdoor activities. The very first one would be to go on a walk or a hike. I love when the weather starts getting cooler. I can wear a jacket or a hoodie, and I hate summer weather. I'm not gonna lie, I hate being hot. So once the weather starts to cool off, I love going on walks, and then you get to see the leaves falling, and it's just so pretty outside. Similar to that, and this is a really good one for kids as well, you can collect things like acorns and leaves and pine cones, and then you can also use that in some DIY activities, which again is great for kids, and it's some free resources that you can find just when you're out on a walk. Another thing you can do is a DIY fall photo shoot. So if you find a really pretty area with maybe a pile of leaves or just a really nice setting with the leaves changing in the background, you can have a little photo shoot with your kids, yourself, your spouse, your partner, whatever it is. Just have some fun out in the nice fall scenery. And if you have a bike, another one would be to go on a nice bike ride. I wish I had a bike. My husband likes to bike. My daughter likes to bike, although she doesn't go too far. But me, I don't have a bike, and it's because I'm not sure if I would actually use it that much, because there are definitely some times where I'm like, man, I would love to go on a bike ride. And then other times I'm like, I don't know, because I live in a really busy area and I just get so paranoid that someone's gonna hit me on a bike, because I mean, it does happen sometimes. My husband almost got hit a couple of times. So I'm still on the fence about that one, but that would be a nice thing to do. You could also go to like a bike trail or something if you don't want to be out on the road. That's probably what I would choose to do. And you could also go on an actual picnic outside, bring some nice snacks, some caramel apples, any kind of seasonal fall goodies. Another one, if you like to draw, would be nature journaling. So go out, sketch some pretty leaves that you see, any kind of scenery that you like. You could draw it, paint it, something like that. Or you could also just take pictures of it, do as part of the photo shoot, just take some pictures of some nice scenery. Use it as a background on your phone or whatever, just for the season. Another thing you could do is press leaves. I've actually never done this, but it would be a nice activity to look up and free. One that I researched that I think sounds like a really cool idea is do a daily photo challenge. So maybe think of something that you want to take a picture of each day, or just look around each day and find something that you like that you would want to take a picture of. Try to capture some nice moments. I think that would be a really good idea. So you can have a nice little fall album on your phone. You could also visit a local orchard or pumpkin patch. That is definitely like a quintessential fall activity to do, is to go to a pumpkin patch or an orchard. And one thing that's pretty cool about those is sometimes they have a petting zoo or something like that, or they might have some treats, some goodies, just things that they grow there, they make there, homemade, apple cider, stuff like that. So that is a really nice activity. Next category, I don't know why I have this necessarily as its own category, but just general seasonal fun that I wasn't sure where else to put it. You can make homemade caramel apples. That would be a nice one. You can make pumpkin spice granola or trail mix or something like that. I guess I could have put those under the other one where you're baking seasonal treats, but I just thought of those separately. You could do backyard camping with a tent. You could do roast marshmallows or make s'mores outside. That would be a fun one. Actually, you could do that indoors as well if you don't have a place to do that outside. You can even melt marshmallows like in the oven, I think, like have a graham cracker with the marshmallow. That one you might have to look up some DIY stuff. You might have to Google that one, so I'm not telling you wrong. Yeah, so that would be one to explore. You could, I'm sure there are all kinds of like s'mores treats that you could do that mimic s'mores if you're not able to actually go outside and have a campfire, which I know I can't and I would love to, but that's one I have to find an alternative to as well. So I already talked about doing a fall photo shoot outside, but that is also something you could do inside. If you have some decorations or just a nice little cozy setting, do a little family photo shoot inside, you, your kids, whoever. Your pets, that would be a fun one. I always take pictures of my cat, so anyone that you would consider your family. The final one for this category is to host a seasonal flavors night. I don't know what the best thing would be to call that, like a fall feast or something like that. So I guess different than like a Thanksgiving feast, more to kick off fall. So things like pumpkin spice everything, apple stuff, that kind of thing. You could do like a stuffed squash meal. I used to have a recipe for a stuffed acorn squash that was really good. You could do butternut squash ravioli. You could do pumpkin soup. There are just so many options. Things that aren't traditionally Thanksgiving, so may not fit with that fall meal, but just a separate one you could do. So the next category is one that I also love. I love all of these, to be honest, but it is more creative DIY type of stuff, which is where I excel. That is my favorite thing to do. So aside from just whatever craft you normally do, you could obviously just pick fall theme stuff. So I like to knit and crochet. So I will crochet some pumpkins or knit something that's orange. Like last year I did a little washcloth that was orange. So just whatever craft you do, obviously pick some fall items. But in addition, I'm going to give you some more ideas. One of the biggest fall DIY activities is carving pumpkins. So that is something that I really don't do that often, to be fair, but that would be a really fun one to do. I know they sell little kits that you can use, but I think you can kind of just work around not having a kit if you don't want to actually buy anything. But I'm not gonna lie, I really don't know that much about carving pumpkins. That is the one that is on my bucket list because I want to do that. You could also make some kind of DIY fall wreath. So if you were out collecting things like acorns and pine cones and that sort of thing, you can make a wreath with them. You could also use stuff like crochet to crochet pieces. You could do paper, like a paper wreath, just some kind of fall wreath. You could also do a leaf garland. So something like dried pressed leaves, you could again knit or crochet some leaves. You could do paper leaves. You could sew leaves. I mean, whatever your craft of choice is. You can make felt leaves. Felt is nice because you can cut pieces out and they don't fray. The next one would be painted rock decorations, and this one is really good for kids. I know my daughter loves to paint rocks, so just get some rocks and paint them in a fall theme. You could literally just paint them orange, but whatever you want to do. Another one would be mason jar crafts. So you might just have a mason jar that you stick some fairy lights in, or you might pick some of the found objects that you had, like the acorns and leaves and stuff, put those in a mason jar, use it as a decoration. There are all kinds of mason jar crafts that you can do. And mason jars are a really great thing to get at thrift stores as well. You might not, even if they're not the ball jars, which honestly I think you can find a lot of just regular ball mason jars at thrift shops, you can always find something kind of similar to that. You could also make autumn themed bookmarks. So again, I absolutely love to read in the fall, so bookmarks was one that I came up with. You could crochet again, you could use some kind of paper, felt. There's so many options for bookmarks that you could do. If you like to hand letter, that is actually one thing that I started my digital Etsy shop with, was hand lettering resources, because I find it really relaxing to do hand lettering. So you could hand letter fall themed words and phrases. You could just use fall colors. You could do some fall designs on your hand lettering. There are a lot of options there. One that I've been wanting to try that I haven't yet is DIY candles or wax melts. That's one that's always been on my list, but this one, the pricing, I think, can be a little all over the place, but I have seen some videos of people using Dollar Tree candles. They actually get the ones, like the religious ones, like the Jesus candles, because they're unscented and it's just a white candle. They'll melt them down and then DIY it, like add, I don't know what they use for the scent, if it's essential oil or a special kind of oil used for candles. I would have to research that more myself, but that could be an option as well, to do that and pour it into molds and just make it more fall themed. You could also make a fall simmering pot, so like a potpourri sort of deal, but you just literally simmer it on your stove. Things like cinnamon, orange peels, any kind of spices really you could throw in there. I don't know if you could do like an apple sort of thing as well. I've never tried putting apple in there. I've always done like oranges and cinnamon, but it'll make your house smell so good. All right, and the final category is community/free events that you can go to. So local fall festivals or markets, they tend to have things like that. Some of those might be more of a back to school sort of situation, but usually you can find some kind of fall market, and especially around Halloween, you can find a lot of Halloween events as well. You could also volunteer at a food pantry. That would be a really nice one to do. Again, especially with kids, have them help out. And another one for kids would be library story time or craft time. The library is always really good with doing seasonal events, so I'm sure they have like a fall/Halloween story time or crafts. Sometimes you can find some free outdoor concerts or other events like that. That would be a good one to try. If you have a community garden, a lot of times they're picking their final harvest of the year around this time of year. So if you're a community garden person, then check out how that's going. And then I added a pumpkin patch event on here as well, because if you don't want to pay to go to a pumpkin patch, sometimes local places around you will have a free pumpkin patch event. I know for Halloween, our town does a little pumpkin patch for the kids in town. It's totally free. You just go and get a little pumpkin. So you might have something like that near you as well. That does it for the list. I really hope you got some good ideas. I can't wait to try some of these myself. I really love indulging in all the fall cozy vibes without having to spend too much money. So let me know if there's anything that is on your list or anything that I left out, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.